what's going on, everyone? Welcome on into a live edition of the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Matthew Peterson. We're going to run through all of the latest on the Broncos surrounding Vance Joseph potentially leaving for another head coaching job, plus some Bo Nix news, and then a mock draft. Unfortunately, with the season coming to an end, that means it is mock draft season. But as always, shout out your city for me in the chat. It's always fun to see where everyone is tuning in from. So don't be a stranger. Get in the chat. Let me know where you are watching from right now. I'll be giving shout outs to everyone who is participating in the chat. Sorry for the delay. Just had a couple of issues, just kind of not technical issues, but just getting things ready. And this time, I did not talk to myself for 5 minutes. Like last time. Okay. Broncos for Life is watching from Albuquerque. Ty Man the Buckeye is in the Buckeye State. Ty Man, big game coming up. Confidence level, 1 to 10. AFX is in downtown, just downtown. Ethan's watching from Utah. We have Honolulu, Hawaii in the house. Langdon, North Dakota. Noel is in Tennessee. Matthew is watching from Firestone, Colorado. Matthew, I tried to send you, this sounds weird, but you reached out over a watch party a few weeks ago to get a letter, and then I wrote you a letter, and then I got returned to sender. So check your email because I got it back, and then I reached out to you asking for you to verify your address. So I've got your letter sitting on my desk right now. Richard is watching in Dallas, Texas, but from West Denver. Let's see, Kansas in the house from David, another Hawaii resident, Philippines here. Ethan's telling everyone to like the video, love to see it. Parker, Colorado from Moses. Tony's in California, love to see it. Tony, hope you're doing well amid the wildfires in Southern California. Hopefully you are safe. So with that being said, let's give everyone a quick heads up that we have a fun sponsor for today's live show. I was about to say watch party. I wish it was a watch party, but no, we got a few more months until the next watch party. And then we're going to jump into the latest news and rumors and mock draft. But first, a quick shout out to Game Time. If you want to go see a Nuggets game or an Avs game or coming up soonish, a Rockies game, Game Time has an awesome feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. One thing I love about Game Time is their all-in pricing option. Toggling this feature shows the total upfront cost with no surprise fees at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHAT Sports for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Also, time to let you guys know that we have a mailbag coming up. So use hashtag Broncos or Super Chat. If you Super Chat, we guarantee that your question, your take, your idea gets on screen for everyone watching to see. Otherwise, you just got to wait and see which questions producer Reed picks. But you must use hashtag Broncos somewhere in your message in the live chat for our software to read the question, pull it, and then put it on screen. So I want everyone watching to make the pick for me right now. If you were George and Sean Payton, and it's Denver Broncos on the clock, and these two guys are available, which one are you picking? Ashton Jeanty or Tyler Warren? Let me hear from you down below in the comment section. Which player would you pick if you were the Broncos with the number 20 pick in the 2025 NFL Draft? Ashton Jeanty or Tyler Warren, the stud Boise State running back, or the best tight end in this draft class, which is a huge need for the Broncos. I'm seeing a lot of AJs come in right now. Krilly Manilli is here. Eric's going with Ashton Jeanty. Juwan Powell is going with Ashton Jeanty. Moses is going with door number 3, Luther Burden. That's not a bad choice. I'm just too in love with one of these two players. So I'm going to go with Ashton Jeanty if I had to make the selection, but we'll talk about it more in our upcoming mock draft. There is a point being made here by Rain, Bears or Cowboys taking him. we do have to brace ourselves for when you pick 20, do not get too attached because there are 19 teams before you that might take your favorite player. So when you're picking 20, I need plan A, plan B, plan C, and plan D. Plan A can be a big goal, right? Do you guys remember, like, when you're applying to colleges, the, counselor from your high school would say, put together 1 to 2 dream schools of, hey, apply, and maybe you get in, you never know, but you want some safe schools as well. You can have 1 to 2 dream candidates. Unlikely they fall all the way to 20 if they're a dream candidate, but you can live that way. But you better have some good ones in reach. These guys right here are teetering right on the line of dream or safe. So, with that all being said, let's kind of get this show on the road. Over 100 people watching right now. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We have 25 likes, so a little under 25% of you have liked the video so far. So to the 78% of you watching that have not liked the video, I do ask you scroll down and click the thumbs up button. It does help grow the channel a lot. It tells YouTube, hey, let's show this to more Broncos fans. And then more Broncos fans come here, and then I get more subscribers, hopefully, and then that means I can get more studio space to get you guys more content. And I don't mean that in a corny car salesman sense. There is literally a whole bunch of construction going on right now, just 50 feet behind me and behind, believe it or not, a green screen right here. And all that is going on with more studio space being added. And I would like for my channel here to get some of that studio space. So coming up on today's show, latest news and rumors, Broncos mock draft, and then a mailbag, your opportunity to get on screen, ask any question that you might have regarding the Denver Broncos or the NFL in general, or whatever tickles your fancy. Just use hashtag Broncos or Super Chat, and if you Super Chat, we guarantee it gets on screen for everyone watching to see. 40 likes. I appreciate everyone that went down and hit that thumbs up button. Greatly appreciate it. And then we're going to kind of get the show on the road. But first, let me give some shout-outs here. That last one is wrong. Okay, we got to bridge the gap between the first one all the way to the 19 one. In the meantime, Caleb Johnson gives low-key Kamara vibes. I don't know about Kamara vibes. That one's mostly close to it, Reed. You just got to bridge the gap a little bit. Okay. Kamara was a much better receiving back at Tennessee. Not that Caleb doesn't have a good receiving, ability to his game, but I saw way more of that from Kamara at UT than Johnson this past season for Iowa. I'll give some quick shout-outs here. Rain, Garrett Wilson in free agency. There has been this overall attraction to getting Garrett Wilson. Let me make it abundantly clear. Garrett Wilson is not a free agent. He is under contract. So it would be a trade. He's under contract for likely 2 more years with the Jets. He's coming up on year 4 with the Jets, is he not? 2022? Yep, 2023, 2024. And then he's going to have his 5th-year option picked up for 2026. So if you want Garrett Wilson in free agency, talk to me in March of 2027, basically 2 years from right now. Otherwise, we're talking trades. 136 people tuned in. I'm just going to give a few more shout-outs here, and then we can get the first segment talking all about Vance Joseph underway. There's been some buzz about the Broncos potentially losing VJ to another head coaching opportunity, his second chance at being an NFL head coach, which doesn't happen all that often. I mean, you sure do get your fair amount of retreads, but that's much more of an NBA thing. In the NFL, majority of the time you get one crack at it. And if it doesn't work out, which it didn't for Vance Joseph, then that's kind of the nail in the coffin for your head coaching aspirations. David, Matthew, Tyreek Hill leaving Miami. How about Denver? Did something like new come out? Or are we still going off of what he said after the last game? Because I don't think Tyreek Hill's a good fit in the Broncos locker room. I feel like Tyreek Hill has gotten where he is because of his speed and talent. And sometimes, if you are that fast and that talented, you can get away with shenanigans. He's starting, I think, to maybe lose a little bit of that speed. And with that, the talent. And if that's the case, I'm not interested in a not uberly talented Tyreek Hill because he's not some locker room leader that's going to help mentor and bring along Troy Franklin. No, I don't think it'd be a good fit in Denver. I know that he was fantastic, and it's not like he was bad this year, but he was, south of 1,000 yards and played every single game, except for the fourth quarter of the last game because he just pulled himself. So I'm not interested in Tyreek Hill for the Broncos. But, David, I encourage you to take that, put it into a bit of a question form, and use hashtag Broncos in the chat. That way we can put it on screen for everyone watching to see. Okay. Michael Garrett Wilson from the New York Jets. Michael, package that into some kind of question or just like, here's my idea. That's fine too. But please use hashtag Broncos. Otherwise, there's no way we can get on screen for everyone watching to see. One other subject I want to talk about on today's show, by the way, we have some really interesting, kind of borderline unbelievable Bo Nix news that came out after the season was over and the players went to the locker room in Denver and cleaned out their locker room, and the media had the chance to speak to some of the players, and Bo Nix revealed a shocking injury. I'll let you guys know that much, at least for the time being, until we get into the show, that he sustained during the season. So very, very surprising stuff right there. Richard, Payton doesn't want toxic players. Hill won't come here. No A.J. Brown, no Pickens. Yeah, I'm with you on the no Tyreek Hill. I don't know if is A.J. Brown toxic? I don't think he's that toxic. Maybe there's some things that, listen, every wide receiver
tries to make him super toxic, but you just have arguments with your teammates. Like, it's not perfect every day.
I'm just going to say that every wide receiver, for the most part, like 90% of them, they kind of have a little bit of a diva in them. Like, take Courtland Sutton, for example. I don't think he's a diva, but I had Courtland Sutton going into the last year, not even 2 years left on his contract, and I had Garrett Bowles entering the last year of his contract. One guy had 2 years left. One guy had 1 year left. One guy skipped all of mandatory minicamp, all of OTAs and whatnot. Other guys showed up to everything. So a little bit of a position thing going on here that wide receivers, their entire career, their job has been mine. Get me the ball, right? Me. And I think that starts to get ingrained a little bit, and they start to become a little egotistical. And that's just something that comes with the price of being a wide receiver. Just the cost of doing business with them. I don't think A.J. Brown is what did you call it? Toxic. No. George Pickens, I'll say, I think there's some toxic traits right there. I think George Pickens he's done in Pittsburgh, but then again, they put up with A.J. Brown for so long, but A.J. Brown was much better than George Pickens. So we'll see if Pickens' talent can keep him in Pittsburgh or not. Dude sat on the sideline reading a book. I would have benched him. Well, the whole offense was on the side. The defense was on the field. They were all sitting on the bench. It wasn't like he was sitting on the sideline when the rest of the offense was on the field. He was on the sideline just reading a book while all the offense was on the sideline. So, I don't know. I feel like if you're really mad about the book thing, then you just kind of had it in your mind made up beforehand. This guy's a diva, this guy's toxic, and this proves it for me. Or you can look at it as, this is someone who is trying to calm their nerves or get into a right mental space, and somehow this book does that for them. If the Eagles go on to win the Super Bowl, that book is going to be the best-selling book in the history of Philadelphia readers. Oh, okay. So, I like Scatabo. We're going to get into Tej Johnson in the draft. We can talk about that. Good job using hashtag Broncos. Thank you. 165 people tuned in. We have 53 likes. Once we get to 60 likes, we will jump into our first segment. Appreciate everyone's patience. Reed is just doing one or two quick things behind the scenes here to get ourselves ready for the first segment. You used hashtag Broncos the first time. Go back to the second time. So, 53 likes, 7 likes away from 60, and then we are going to get this train moving. Get this plane off the ground. Get this car and drive. How many more analogies can I come up with? Get the sails up and the boat moving. And we're at 61 likes. Okay. That's not until the second segment, Reed. So we can get into the first segment right now. All right, here we go. Let me get my ducks in a row here. Let's get into our first segment today, all about Vance Joseph potentially leaving Denver, and then some Bo Nix news I want to share with you guys as well. Are we ready to rock and roll? All right, here we go. Coming at you with our first segment in today's live show in 3, 2, 1. The first thing I want to talk about in today's episode is Vance Joseph. Is he leaving for an NFL head coaching opportunity elsewhere? We've got some buzz out there that teams are interested in VJ to be their next head coach. The Raiders have requested to meet with the Broncos defensive coordinator, and Ian Rappaport expects some other teams to make interest as well. So let's talk about the possibility of Vance Joseph, who has done an excellent job of engineering this defense that really didn't have a whole lot going for them in their first year, going all the way from giving up 70 points in Miami to being, believe it or not, one of the best scoring defenses in football in 2025. Now, there's pros and cons if the Broncos were to lose Vance Joseph. Con is you lose the mastermind of what was an excellent defense this year. Pro is the Broncos would get 2 third-round draft picks, one in 2025, one in 2026. So those are the facts. 2 third-rounders if a minority head coach is hired away. It's the team that has the coach to begin with, not the team that's hiring the coach to get those 2 additional third-round draft picks. My personal belief is I don't think Vance Joseph is going to get a head coaching job this cycle. It's not easy to get a second opportunity to be a head coach. It's especially not easy if you're a defensive coach. Take Dan Quinn, for example. Took the Falcons to the Super Bowl. We know what happens. Ultimately, gets canned in Atlanta, goes to Dallas, and is their defensive coordinator for a handful of years. There was some buzz after year 1, after year 2. Stayed in Dallas. Why? Well, there might be some desperation if you're Vance Joseph. If anyone calls, you want the job. But 99% chance that the next job that Vance Joseph takes, if it is a head coaching job, that'll be his last job as a head coach. So if it's not the right opportunity, and he knows he's down to his final strike, as crazy as it might sound, he might exercise some patience. Ben Johnson last year was like the number 1 candidate, opted to stay in Detroit. I think that's him exercising some patience. So Vance Joseph, I think for starters, is not, I won't say ready to be a head coach, but I don't think from the view of other teams is a surefire thing to be a successful coach again. I think they're likely going to want to see VJ put together some strong defenses in consecutive years, not just a breakout 2025 defense. So once we see some consistency year over year, then I think the interest will get real from the rest of the league on Vance Joseph. But the example I go back to is look at Dan Quinn. Look how good that Cowboys defense was for a stretch. And he kept going back. And I think he kept going back because he wanted to wait for the right opportunity. And it's not easy to see a defensive coordinator get a second crack at being a head coach. So my gut tells me Vance Joseph, he may be a head coach again down the road, but I don't believe it's this offseason. So how would you grade Vance Joseph's 2024 Broncos defense? A, B, C, D, or F? I'm going to give it a B+. Only thing that's holding me back from giving it an A is down the stretch when the chips were down, the defense started to crack a little bit. I'm not putting too much of the wild card loss on the defense. That to me goes back to time of possession, but there's a lot to be proud of. Number 1 pass rush in football, led the NFL in sacks, was not working with an ensemble of like Pro Bowl players. The only Pro Bowler on that team was Pat Surtain, but he made a whole bunch of other guys a lot of money. Nick Bonito, Jonathan Cooper, Zach Allen. So a lot to be proud of. I'll go with B+. I'm probably being a little bit too stingy, but that's my grade. Now, some news I want to relay to you regarding Bo Nix. So, Bo Nix, in his final media presser, we'll call it, when he spoke to a couple of guys at his locker after the Broncos wildcard loss and back in Denver cleaning out the locker, he was talking about the season, and he mentioned that he played through a transverse process fracture in his back. Fancy medical lingo for a broken back. A couple of the wings on his vertebrae, I don't really know what that means. I never got into Grey's Anatomy, so someone who's in the medical field can tell me about this, please, in the comments. But he played through more or less a broken back for the last couple of weeks of the season. The injury happened in Week 12 at Las Vegas. You can find the moment in like the second quarter where Tyree Wilson sacks him and he gets up and he's like, that one hurts. And I remember the next couple of weeks, he was on the injury report with a back injury. Ultimately, he played through the entire thing, never missed a snap. The bye week also came at a very convenient time because after the Raiders game, they had the Browns on Monday Night Football and then the bye. And then Nick said coming out of the bye, he was feeling fine. So kudos to him, though. He is tough as nails. If I break my back at work, there's no more Broncos breakdown videos for the foreseeable future. Deuces. Like, that's not me even being lazy. If I have a broken fucking back, you think I'm going to be, let alone standing here, an NFL quarterback? No way. So, major brownie points and major tough points. I mean, think about that. As a rookie, you're the freshman. You're the new guy, right? And you've got all these NFL vets that have been in the league for years on years on years. They've played through a ton of injuries. And here's their rookie quarterback with a broken back not leaving the game. You better believe that there's going to be a lot of belief from the rest of his teammates in 10 when they find this out, or when they found it out. Before we get on to the rest of the Bo Nix news and some other subjects as well, quick shout out to our sponsor, Game Time. Game Time has an awesome feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. One thing I really like about Game Time is their all-in pricing option. Toggling this feature shows the total upfront cost with no surprise fees at checkout. So if you want to go see the Nuggets or the Avs or any other sporting event in your area, download the Game Time app today to take the guesswork out of buying tickets. Once you download the app and create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. So let's talk about Nix in a little bit more detail here, because on top of the back injury that he revealed, he's also been named to the NFL rookie. Oh, sorry. We're going to jump the gun a little bit here. He was also named one of the finalists for the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year candidates. Reed's having a tough time on the ones and twos. Just bear with him for a moment here. You guys get to see how the sausage is made here. So let's talk about the 2025 Rookie of the Year candidates, which includes Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, Bucky Irving, and 3 more players, as there are 6 players who have been named to the Pepsi Zero Calorie, I don't know what it is. It's quite the award name. Rookie of the Year candidates. You've got Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors, and Brock Bowers. So 6 candidates altogether named to the Rookie of the Year award, and our sweet prince, Bo Nix, is one of the 6. So with that being said, I want to discuss how likely it is that Bo Nix is going to win this award. Do I believe he's going to win this award? But I'll open up by saying major credit and bravo and round of applause and all that stuff to Bo Nix first and foremost. He's the one that's actually on the field playing, but also to this coaching staff. They identified Bo Nix. It was not a consensus slam dunk pick on draft night, but there are 2 quarterbacks who were named to the finalist, the 2nd overall and the 12th overall. So major kudos to Sean Payton and this coaching staff for getting the best version of Bo Nix out of himself, but also for Bo Nix for actually making the plays on the field. Now, when it comes to history at this award, usually you think, oh, MVP of sorts, it's always going to be a quarterback. Actually, not the case, as you saw like 60 seconds ago. C.J. Stroud, Garrett Wilson, Jamar Chase, Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray, the last 5 to win it. The last running back, by the way, was Saquon Barkley in 2018, but we don't have enough room here. So 3 quarterbacks and 2 wide receivers. So it's not purely a quarterback award. It truly is given out to the best player of the entire rookie class, which isn't always the case for the MVP award. But in my eyes, there are 2 major candidates, Bo Nix and Jayden Daniels, because there are 2 very good quarterbacks in this class, and tie tends to go to the quarterback. So, between Bo Nix and Jayden Daniels, who's going to win the award? If you want to go line by line and give points out for every single statistical category, Jayden Daniels wins completion percentage, he wins rushing yards, he wins interceptions. Bo Nix wins passing yards and touchdowns. My prediction is Jayden Daniels will win the award. I'm not saying that because I think he deserves to win the award over Bo Nix. I think both guys have great cases, and honestly, it's not a bad decision one way or the other, and I don't think this is something to get too worked up over or to die on this hill for, that Bo Nix absolutely must win the award. If he does win the award, he's deserving of it. He nearly set the NFL passing record for touchdowns by a rookie, tying, I think, Baker Mayfield from 2018, who also did not win the award, by the way, in 2018. But anywho, both guys are very deserving. I believe the voters, and this is just what I'm thinking the voters are doing, not what I would do. I think the voters are going to go with Jayden Daniels because he had some more wow moments, and those moments tend to stick in your head a little bit more. That throw he had on the Monday night doubleheader against the Bengals to Terry McLaurin to knock off Cincinnati and really start to put the Commanders on the map. The incredible start he had to the year, and then the ending. There's always some level of recency bias. And Bo Nix had a great game against the Chiefs as well, but unfortunately for him, he wasn't playing starters, so people are going to, discount that. Well, it's not like Bo controls who the defense puts out there. He can only play the 11 he sees. But my prediction is when the award ceremony happens right before the Super Bowl, Rookie of the Year is going to go to Jayden Daniels. So don't shoot the messenger. That's just my prediction. Now, if you had to pick one, who would you pick? Jayden Daniels or Bo Nix? Let me know in the comment section below. I think if Bo Nix is on the Commanders and Jayden Daniels is on the Broncos, we see better stats for Bo Nix in Washington than Jayden Daniels in Denver. I feel like Bo Nix was working with a little bit less and put out some really good numbers. One guy that I just want to give, I don't really know why, but some credit to or some airtime to, Brian Thomas was also fantastic this year. He somewhat got lost in the mix of the Jags just being the Jags. Dude is a rookie at 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns. He's going to be a star in this league. So remember this when you're drafting your fantasy football league next August and Brian Thomas is there in like round 5 or something, maybe round 4, take him because I feel like he's a star in the making. And if there weren't 2 really good quarterbacks this year, he'd be my vote for Rookie of the Year. So Brian Thomas, I didn't think you probably expect to be on a Broncos YouTube channel today, but here you go. I'm going to give you your flowers. You earned them. All right, pick a Rookie of the Year for me, Jayden Daniels or Bo Nix. Let me know in the comment section below. Expecting to see a lot of 10s.
I think it's the recency bias is what is going to win it for Jayden Daniels.
I should have mentioned in the video, Rookie of the Year is a regular season award. What I'm not sure about, and I would love for someone to tell me if they do know the answer, are the votes casted by the end of Week 18? Or are they casted in the middle of the postseason with the instructions of vote only based on the regular season? I sure hope they're casted before the postseason if it is a regular season award. Because to me, that's kind of like what's the term? Like a tainted jury where even though we told you only look at the regular season, now that you've seen the postseason, we think it's impossible for you, not hung jury. We think it's impossible for you guys to get that out of your head. So, was it last Wednesday, Richard? I hope that there were no votes casted after the postseason started. Frank is putting 10 in there. Jimbo's putting 10 in there. Denver Broncos fans putting 10 down. Okay, Ricky says all right, good. So, no concern about that, because I wouldn't be surprised if the NFL's like, hey, it's a regular season award, but we're going to allow you guys to vote in the postseason. So if you want to slip some postseason bias in, you can. But this way we can tell everyone, well, it's just a regular season award, but you kind of satisfy both parties. Ricky's typing 10. Love to see it. 220 people hanging out with us right now. Thank you guys so much for tuning into our live show. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button down below. We're at 89 likes. We'd love to get to 100 likes before we begin our next segment, which is a mock draft. The Broncos have the 20th pick. I don't understand how this changed, because I was staring at Tankathon this time yesterday, and they were picking 19. And I don't really understand how the Vikings losing means the Broncos are now picking 20. Plus, I think it was determined before the Vikings-Rams game that Denver was picking 20. But Tankathon, which is the thing I swear by, it's my go-to spot, they had him at 19. So I was the dumbest guy in the room. I was walking around with my underwear on my head and had no idea. It was like the scene in Step Brothers where Dale has a huge painted on, wound on his head. That was me pretty much. Uh-huh. As long as that's right, yep. Richard, I know it's strength of schedule, but how do they move from 19 to 20 on the Tankathon website? They were at 19 at one point. I swear I'm not making that up. Okie dokie. So mock draft coming up. We're going to talk about what combination of I think the Broncos should do versus what I think they will do, because those are two very different things. And I often feel like people, when they put out mock drafts, they don't really share which of the two they're doing. And I think that should be shared. I'm not one that loves to see mock drafts of here's what I would do, because more often than not, and here's what I would do, they really do what they want to be done. And that usually involves picking players who aren't going to be available at that spot. So I like to try to keep it as realistic as possible. And I feel like when it turns into my mock draft, it's here's my dream. Okay, cool. That's a dream. Can we get something that actually has some plausibility to it? We got our first super chat of the day. Let's roll. Zavi, how do I pronounce it? Tez Johnson for Bo Nix would be cool, plus good wide receiver. We're just getting all the duckies in Denver. Troy Franklin, Alex Forsyth, Bo Nix. What's one more ducky? Thank you first and foremost for the super chat and for supporting the show. Tez Johnson, I think, is a day 2 prospect that Denver could target. I wouldn't be shocked if they don't prioritize wide receiver. They made some nice additions that have really shown growth last year. Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin, Devon Vele, Cortland Sutton's under contract. Well, I think wide receiver could be a nice addition. I think they might prioritize other positions first. And if they get to wide receiver, so be it. But I'm not opposed to Tez Johnson as a prospect. I think he's going to make a really good receiver. So, with that in mind, should we get this mock draft underway? We got 96 likes. Can we get 4 more likes, get to 100? I'd really appreciate it. BKK, what do you think of Scatterboo Kid if not Genty? Use hashtag Broncos for the mailbag. I beg you guys. Just like how we have a super chat, which will be included in the mailbag, got to use hashtag Broncos somewhere in your message to get on screen. Don't worry about the backgrounds. 2 likes away from 100. 2 likes. Ricky, Denver needs to get rid of Franklin. He sucks, man. Yeah, the guy that just scored the only touchdown in the playoff game, that's a rookie. let's have some patience. Can we please just have a little bit of patience for rookie players? This day and age, I don't know if it was like this before I was more cognizant of the NFL. You know, I was just a little duckling. But were people this impatient? I'm not trying to pick on Ricky just right now, but this is kind of a general feeling. Were people this impatient with rookies like 20 years ago? Or is this kind of a new thing of now? I need results. I need production this game, this year. Otherwise, you're gone. If you got the wrong guy in the spot and it's obvious, okay, that's one thing. But let's not make conclusions after one season for people. Let's let people learn from their mistakes and grow a little bit. I like this question from Elias. Do you think David Njoku is still possible? Thank you for using #Broncos. Okie dokie. Are we ready to get this show on the road? We got 110 likes, so appreciate every single one of you that scrolled on down, hit that thumbs up button. Now we've got a mock draft coming up in 3, 2, 1. Before we check out my mock draft for the Broncos now that they are out of the playoffs, I do want to get the pulse of everyone watching. If both of these players are available when Denver's on the clock, who would you pick? Who would you turn in on the answer slip? Ashton Jeanty or Tyler Warren? What's going on, Broncos country? Coming up on today's show, we're going to run through a 2025 Broncos mock draft. This is our first mock draft of what's going to be mock draft season. Now that Denver is out of the playoffs, we can spend a little bit of time at looking ahead to April's draft. So a primer first, what is Denver working with? Here are their draft picks. They have a first, a second, a third. So finally, all 3 picks in the first 3 rounds. No fourth, no fifth. 3 6-round draft picks. They don't have a fifth. That goes to the Dolphins for the Bradley Chubb trade, and I can't remember where their fourth went, but I'm sure it'll come to me halfway through the video. So those are the 6 picks they are working with. So with that being said, let's jump right into it. In round 1, my mock draft, I went Ashton Jeanty, running back out of Boise State. Let's discuss, shall we? I think there is a large number of people watching right now that are loving this and they are lapping it up. Some of you, and hey, that's fine, might want to go a different direction around 1. So let's talk it through, guys. First things first, let's look at the draft order because there's a fair contingency, and understandably so, of people that believe Ashton Jeanty is not falling to Denver at pick 20. Let's go through the draft order and try and find a spot where Jeanty could get picked. Now, trades could change things, and they will be changed, or trades will happen. But as things stand right now, looking at the top 10, I don't see a obvious spot. Maybe the Bears at 10. They had a bad ground game, would pair nicely with Caleb Williams, but I think they go offensive line or defensive line. But it's possible. Moving along. 49ers, no, they got Christian McCaffrey. Cowboys, maybe, but here's why I don't think so. If Mike McCarthy was still the coach, okay. New head coach, first draft, 12th pick, goes running back. You don't have to see running backs go in round 1. You definitely don't have to see them go to new head coaches in round 1. Dolphins are pretty good at running back. Colts have Jonathan Taylor. Falcons have Bijan Robinson. Cardinals, they just recently extended James Conner, so maybe, but I don't think so. Bengals, they like, not Zach Moss, he got injured. They like Chase Brown. Seahawks have a nice dual threat between Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker. So I'm looking at this stretch right here, and I think this is kind of the territory where Jeanty could go, and I'm not seeing a obvious team in desperate need of a running back. So I could see Jeanty falling because teams are picking for their needs. You get to the Bucs at 19, they got Bucky Irving. They like him. I don't think they're going to go running back. And all of a sudden, the very first team that obviously needs a running back is the Broncos. So if you're in the belief of Jeanty's not falling to Denver, I'm not going to say that you're wrong. I can't say that for certain in January. But as things stand right now, barring any trades, I don't really see an obvious destination for Genty, which means I think he could very well fall all the way to 20 for the Broncos. And if he is there, I would love for Denver to turn in their draft slip with the name Ashton Genty on it, because the guy was a stud last year. Don't overthink it. 2,500 yards and 29 touchdowns. I know that college stats never are correlated over to the NFL, but 7.3 yards a carry. Please don't make me twist your arm. Look how good he is. Don't try and be the smartest guy in the room here. This is not requiring some deep, draft rumors. I'm going to try and outfox everyone. I'm almost running out of space on the line for pros. Like, one thing that I want to put on your radar is we also have to watch more Genty highlights. His balance. The guy takes contact, and it's as if he absorbs it all and is not redirected whatsoever. It kind of reminds me of, 5-year-olds trying to knock over a sumo wrestler. It's just cute to watch them try. But he never loses balance, never gets knocked off course. He's got great vision, excellent patience in the backfield to make sure the holes develop and turn open. Plus, no offense to the Boise State offensive line, but imagine what he would do behind an NFL offensive line. Speed, athleticism, all that is there. There's only real two cons. One con is he does take a ton of hits, which it just means he's not soft and he doesn't want to go out of bounds. The other con that people like to bring up is he went to a group of 5 school. He didn't play anyone. Who did he play, Paul? Didn't play anyone. There are some pretty good running backs that did not go to a now Power 4 school. Notable group of 5 running backs. Chris Johnson, East Carolina. Think he had a pretty good career. Alfred Morris, FAU. Doug Martin, who, by the way, fun fact, the last running back to be taken in round 1 that did not attend a Power 5 school. Michael Turner from NIU, Matt Forte back with the Bears, went to Tulane. So don't tell me it's impossible for a group of 5 running back to have a successful NFL career. Plus, Chris Johnson, LaDainian Tomlinson, those are 2 guys that really jump out to mind here that had excellent NFL careers. Chris Johnson, like we mentioned, when he went to ECU, and then LaDainian Tomlinson back in the day, TCU, which at the time was a Mountain West school. And we don't need to tell you guys about the careers they had. So I'm not going to subscribe to this idea of don't take Genty because he went to Boise State. They didn't play any good defenses. Can someone tell me what defenses Chris Johnson played in college that weren't any good? That meant he wouldn't be good in the NFL? I don't think so. So I'm all the way in on Ashton Genty in round 1. I feel like this is a don't overthink it. You desperately need a running back. Javonte Williams ranked 32nd out of 32 NFL leading running backs for all 32 teams with 533 yards, the lowest of every single team's leading rusher. Don't overthink it, please. I'm begging you. Before we look at rounds 2 and 3 of my mock draft, quick shout out to our sponsor today, Fume. Have you heard that the flavored air category is quickly becoming the leading alternative to vaping and smoking? It's a whole new movement towards better habits led by the sponsor of today's video, Fume. It is an award-winning flavored air device. Fume fills the void ditching a bad habit can leave. You can still have something to reach for. It is not a vape, and it can be used as an alternative to vaping or quitting vaping. If vapor was compared to sticky soda, Fume cores are close to herbal teas. Fume has lots of delicious flavors to choose from, like crisp mint and orange vanilla. Fume has already helped over 300,000 people build better habits. Try Fume today, and if you order the Journey Pack now using my code CHATSPORTS, you'll get a free Fume topper, an awesome accessory to level up your experience. Go to tryfume.com/chatsports or scan the QR code on screen. All this information is in the comments and description of today's episode. Thanks so much to Fume for sponsoring today's episode. Once again, visit our site, tryfume.com/chatsports, or scan the QR code on screen. Fast forward to round 2 of the mock draft. After going running back in round 1, I went with tight end out of Michigan, Colston Loveland. Now, the Broncos are picking in the early 50s. So there is a chance that he might not be there in round 2, but don't get too attached to 95% of players and where they're expected to go. There's always mock drafts that come out right before the draft of this guy's going to go round 1, and then he goes round 3. So for me, I saw Loveland available in round 2, and I didn't overthink the 6'5", 245-pound tight end that has some of the best separation ability for his tight end class in this year's draft. So why is he available in round 2 of the draft? Well, he unfortunately chose a bad time to have his final year at Michigan because they had the 1924 offense. There was no forward passes this season in Ann Arbor, which meant Loveland, who is a receiving tight end, basically got lost in the mix. And I think that hurt his draft stock. But I am trusting that Sean Payton, who brought in Bo Nix for a private workout and was sold after that private workout, is not going to let the Michigan quarterback this year dictate whether or not he takes Colston Loveland, who you can look at his numbers the last 2 years, and I know they don't really pop out to you as, wow, this guy's incredible. Keep in mind, the college game this day and age is not designed to stat the pass for a tight end. Most college offenses are predicated around one read, get it out to your wide receiver, or you're running the football. Very rarely do you see a team's first read be the tight end, and that's usually where the ball goes to for college quarterbacks this day and age. So Mel Kiper has Tyler Warren as his number 1 tight end. I think Tyler Warren has a better chance of going before the Broncos pick at 20 than Ashton Jeanty right now. There are just teams ahead of Denver who need tight end help, like, say, the Miami Dolphins, than running back help. Now, the thing that can change all this is when someone inevitably probably trades up. But if no one trades for the time being, I think based on the current draft order, Warren is going to go before Jeanty, which means Colston Loveland, his number 2 tight end, would be an excellent pick for Denver. Before we look at my third and final pick, because I'm just doing the first 2 days of the draft in today's mock draft, we are going to be your go-to spot all offseason long for free agency, for trades, and of course the draft. We do not take our foot off the gas whatsoever. Anyone that's been subscribed to this channel for 1 or 2 off seasons will tell you that in the comments. So make sure to subscribe. Help us reach our goal of 32,000 subscribers. Moving on to round number 3. This is going to get the comment section going. I'm going to go with running back Cam Skattebo. I know I took a running back in round 1, and I'm a little bit off my rocker right now. But just hear me out for a second, and maybe you'll agree with me after my little TED Talk. This is a little bit of pixie dust. Taking 2 running backs in the first 2 rounds of the draft, it's like practically unheard of, especially after you drafted a running back last year in day 3 with Audric Estime. 3 running backs in 2 drafts? What sane person would do that? The answer is Sean Payton, because he wants his next Taysom Hill. I mean, I think I can say we all, unless you were a fan of someone in the path of Arizona State, fell in love with Skattebo over the last couple of weeks of the college football season. And most importantly, his toughness and his versatility. 1,700 rushing yards, 605 receiving yards, showed some passing abilities as well, and 23 total touchdowns. Does that remind you of anyone like, say, Taysom Hill, who Sean Payton was enamored with and gave a big fat contract to, and really has not found that Taysom Hill 2 years into his job in Denver? Maybe he decides, if we're going to go with Cam in round 2 or round 3, we don't need to go with Ashton Jeanty in round 1. Or maybe he decides, you know what? I had Alvin Kamara and Taysom Hill. I would not mind having a 2-headed monster between Jeanty and Skattebo and just completely revitalizing our running back room, because it was a bad running back room in 2024. Let's just be honest. He is a complete bowling ball of a running back. And that analogy gets tossed out there a lot, and everyone's a bowling. This guy's different. This guy truly is a wrecking ball. He runs like his hair is on fire. He is a powerful, violent rusher that breaks tackles and makes you tackle him. He is not going down with a lazy arm tackle or a little push out of bounds. This guy's going to throw up on the sidelines and get back in the field. Now, the only cons I came up with him is he does have a knack for fumbling. That is a fair con to have. That, and he's probably going to not have a very good combine when his speed gets tested. My guess is his 40-yard dash is going to come in around 4.6, which is around where Estime was. And they chose him as well. So that might not be too much of a turnoff for the Broncos. But I'm just thinking about this trio joining Bo Nix. Tell me that's not going to move some mountains in the Rockies. Ashton Jeanty in the backfield. Cam Scatterboo in this hybrid Taysom Hill role. Colston Loveland at tight end, snapping the skid of very, very poor tight end play for the Broncos, really since like Julius Thomas, honestly. And then Cortland Sutton, Bo Nix, and the rest of that rising receiving core, Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin. Is that an offense you can get behind? Because I'm in. I know I didn't address defense, and you kind of want to, spread your chips around a little bit, diversify your portfolio, but I'll wait on defense a little bit later. I want to invest in Bo Nix. So how would you grade my mock draft? A, B, C, D, or F? Let me know in the comment section below what letter grade you'd give it. And while you're doing that, one quick final shout out to our sponsor, Fume. Thanks so much to Fume for sponsoring today's video. Scan the QR code and use code CHATSPORTS to get your free Fume topper when you order your Journey Pack today. So, what's the reaction? Are we in?
I love it.
I know it's kind of borderline dumb to go with two running backs.
No one wants another tight end.
But would that not be an incredible trio of picks? I think so. Frank wants to know if it's a good linebacker class. I don't think linebackers can be as big of a priority as you might think. They're going to get Alex Singleton back. Maybe they move Drew Sanders back to... Oh, sorry, they have Drew Sanders. Maybe they have him at inside linebacker. I'm not sure. Noel says C-. Moses says C-. Tyman says B+. Nathan's... I'm going to go with A. I love it. Jimbo says B. Cool Billy says B. Michael says B. Manny, I'm not taking two running backs in the first 3 rounds. I can't argue with that. I know that this is me having a little bit of like the, fantasy football mindset of just stockpile these really cool players from college football. But I feel like it could be an unbelievable offense to watch. Bobby, A+. Frank says B. Jimbo, we need a running back game. We need a run game, absolutely. So next up on the show, we're going to have a mailbag. Get your questions in, #Broncos or Super Chat. We've got one Super Chat so far, so if you want to guarantee your question gets on screen for everyone watching to see, Super Chat, we'll throw it on. It also goes a really long way to support the channel, so if you like the free content we provide, greatly appreciate those of you that go above and beyond to support the channel. We got a lot of questions, producer Reed says, so if you really want to skip the line, Super Chat, and we guarantee, like I said, it gets on screen for everyone watching to see. You want to open up with the Super Chat question we got, or is there a better question that you like a little bit more? We hit the Super Chat after that. Atlantis Gaming, it's good to see you. B-. Bo Leave giving it an A. Fad giving it a B. I'll take B. The way I like to think about it is, if that really was the draft, would you be mad about it? I'm guessing not. I'm guessing you'd see Ashton Jeanty and Colston Loveland and go, I don't really care what name comes after that. That right there is an incredible duo to be added to this Broncos roster. And then Cam Scatterboo is just the cherry on top. Okay, sounds good. Okie dokie. So, we're going to get into a mailbag. 135 likes, so thank you so much for everyone that's liked the video so far. We'll do a little share right at the top here. Actually, do a like, do a like, do a like. Do a like. No more share. Do a like. Bruh, would Tyler Warren be better than Loveland? Really tough to evaluate tight ends at college level because they just see such little targets. You don't have a lot of tape to go off of.
Except Tyler Warren has a good amount of tape.
Yeah, Tyler Warren does. I'm just saying, like,
Snapping
year
the
to
ball
year.
and catching it.
Okay, so here we go. Let's jump into a live mailbag. What's going on, everyone? Mailbag time here at the Broncos Breakdown. We're going to answer questions that came in during our live show, which airs, by the way, every single Tuesday during the offseason at 3 p.m. Mountain Time. If I want to continue to have the studio space and time for that, I need to show my bosses that people enjoy this show. So do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button down below. First question coming in from Aiden. If Denver decided to trade for someone in the offseason, who do you think they should trade for, and what would the trade look like? Really good question, Aiden. I've got two names or two ideas coming to mind. First one being wide receiver Garrett Wilson. There appears to be some fractures in the relationship between Wilson and Rodgers. So if Aaron Rodgers returns, I would not be surprised if Garrett Wilson is dealt on draft night. Kind of like A.J. Brown, Hollywood Brown, teams that wanted to get a wide receiver. Their guy was taken, so, hey, we'll just trade our first-round pick right now for that proven wide receiver. So I could see Garrett Wilson getting dealt in that realm. If not that route, I don't think they're going to go for a trade for a running back. Breece Hall, Travis Etienne, those are two names that come to mind. Tight end-wise, probably the most available tight end, David Njoku for the Browns. I mean, coming off a 3-win season, I don't think, every player is available, but a lot of them probably are for Cleveland, and Njoku might be in between available and unavailable from the GM mindset. So if I had to pick one, I'd say Garrett Wilson. I think he's going to be an absolute stud, and I'd do it in a heartbeat. Zavi, Tez Johnson for Bo Nix would be cool, plus good wide receiver. We're talking about the Oregon wideout who, would just be another Duck to come down to Denver, joining Bo Nix, joining Troy Franklin and Alex Forsythe. So just get the band back together and get the Denver Ducks. Ooh, Denver Ducks or Oregon Broncos. I like Denver Ducks more. Get the alliteration. So, Zavi, I'm not opposed. I think Tez Johnson's probably going to be about a round 3-ish draft pick. Might sneak into round 2, but like Troy Franklin, could fall to round 4 and be an early day 3 draft pick. Thank you for the super chat, Zavi. Next question coming in. Michael, the Broncos beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yeah. No, the draft. We're talking about the draft here, I think Michael's talking about. When it comes to NFL draft order tiebreaker, it's purely based on strength of schedule. It has nothing to do with head-to-head. Michael, appreciate your question, though. Or I guess, comment. We'll get the next one on screen in just a second here. BKKK country, Broncos country. Gunnar Helm, that's the tight end from Texas. This is a possible name that we should probably start to learn a little bit more about because there's a good chance that Tyler Warren goes in round 1. And if the Broncos go Ashton Genty in round 1, it's probably one or the other. So then it turns to Colston Loveland. And Denver is slated to pick in the early 50s in round 2. And Loveland might not be there. And if he's not there, then the next name is Gunnar Helm from Texas. So this is more of like a reminder for myself of this is kind of plan C, and plan C might become plan A very quickly. So keep an eye on Gunnar Helm out of Texas as a possible tight end draft target for sure. Invade the moon. This team is soft. We're just...
Sorry.
Oh, one moment. Okay, this is a... Here we go. Jimbo, If we can keep what we have, we need a run game. But we are better off at this point than last year at this time. Isn't it nice not having to look for a quarterback? It's definitely a reliever. I will say, it always keeps things interesting when you're looking for either a quarterback or a head coach, kind of keep the interest up a little bit, but that's just the creator side of me talking here. But yeah, I agree. It's much better having, a good, sturdy quarterback than constantly searching for one year after year, which is what Denver's pretty much been doing since Peyton Manning retired. But going back to your beginning point here, we need a run game. I think that has to be the biggest priority. When the coaching staff and the scouts, they all get together, the first problem to solve on the whiteboard is fix the run game. Their only rushing attack this year was Bo Nix on scrambles and a couple of RPOs. So how they decide to address that, I'm open to ideas. But the first plan they have to put in place, in my opinion, is addressing the run game. Hopefully, they accomplish that the way they want to. Big A, 62. Would the Broncos be in on a high-end corner this free agency? No. They're good at corner. Paton, I don't need to say anything more about him. Jaquan McMillan, who I think is one of the best nickel corners in the NFL. And then Riley Moss, who I think showed a tremendous amount of growth from year 1 to year 2 in a borderline breakout season. Plus, he's on his rookie deal, so you're going to love that type of play for that price. But while we're talking corners for just a moment here, I can't place enough emphasis on McMillan's role on this team and how important he is. Because as the NFL begins to transition offensively to more wide receiver sets, that means you've got more DBs on the field. And now you've got this 5'9", $195 corner who has to go and take up a tight end and tackle a running back in the flat or a tight end in the flat, God forbid. And they're expected to do it like a linebacker. They have to have the body of a linebacker, but the speed of a corner. So when you find these nickel corners, hold on to them for dear life because they have such an underrated role. Noel Salinas, I always ask myself, if I was in the building, I would call Seahawks for DK Metcalf. And for some reason, the DK Metcalf trade rumors, they never seem to get really too hot. But they are never really off the grill either. They're always somewhat lukewarm. You know what I mean? If I were Denver, well, I would be, definitely interested in acquiring Metcalf because I do think he's a good wideout. And if I close my eyes right now and I picture week 1 Bo Nix as Cortland Sutton, DK Metcalf, and Ashton Genty in the backfield, yeah, that's gonna make me feel something. I don't think it's very likely, though, if I'm being honest. Before we get on to the rest of the questions on today's mailbag, quick shout out to our sponsor, Game Time. Game Time has this awesome feature that I'm really excited to share with you guys, and that is Game Time Picks. What it does is it filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. At Game Time, they offer the Game Time Guarantee. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHAT Sports for $20 off. It's a great way to go see the Nuggets or see the Avs or any other sporting event in your local area. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Frank Stone, what is the pick if neither Ashton Genty or Tyler Warren are available? Really good question, Frank. The answer is we're screwed because those are my top 2 guys. But let's just say that happens. Let's say the Bears take Genty and the Dolphins take Tyler Warren. Okay. Next up for me, I'm going to start going through the mindset of best player available with some slight of preference at positional need. Broncos don't really need an offensive lineman. Wide receiver, Luther Burden out of Mizzou comes to mind. He's in that range because the Arizona wideout, McMillan, he's going to go probably top 15. So I don't think he'll be there at 20. But if he is there at 20, I would definitely get behind that for sure. But Luther Burden on Mizzou, he comes to mind. On defense, You might want a safety because I wasn't really encouraged by PJ Locke this year. Malachi Starks, the safety out of Georgia, is the top safety in this class. He's the only one that's going to go in round 1. I don't think he's going to escape the top 15 either, so I'm not going to put my eggs in that basket. Not really a linebacker. Maybe Jahad Campbell out of Alabama, but I'm confident that Alex Singleton coming back and what we saw this year out of Cody Barton, I don't want to move on from him. So interior defensive line, kind of aging a little bit there. You could look to replace DJ Jones, get a nice new big nose tackle. It's Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss. I'd probably go Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss or Luther Burden in terms of expected to be there at pick number 20. Great question, Frank. Michael, what is the Broncos' biggest need on the Broncos defense in the NFL draft? Safety comes to mind because I'm confident at corner. I like your 3 starters. You don't need a new starter. Depth's always nice, but let's target new starters first. Safety is definitely one that comes to mind, like I said. Linebacker, I'm content with. You could always add to your pass rush. Jonah Ellis had a really strong rookie campaign. Hopefully that shoulder injury he suffered against the Bills isn't too serious. But you lost Baron Browning, so pass rusher is a spot to watch for. I'd say interior defensive line, just because you don't have a lot of seeds at that position. You know what I mean? You got Malcolm Roach, DJ Jones, Zach Allen. All guys who are 6+ years into their NFL career, 5, 6, might be nice to replenish the interior defensive line a little bit. Michael, thank you for your question, though. Moses, mock drafters need to ask themselves, do you want talent now or talent that develops? If talent now, go wide receiver or running back. If developmental talent, go tight end in the first round. Moses, that's not like a bad outlook on the whole thing. I don't know if that is like absolute of wide receivers and running backs are ready now and tight ends. I guess, yeah, I see what you're saying. Tight ends tend to need a little bit more time to get up to NFL speed, although Brock Bowers made it look easy this year, which, by the way, I'm happy, obviously, it all worked out well with Bo Nix, but that was my number 1 target for the Broncos. Talent now, though, I feel like rookie quarterback showing promise on a rookie contract, time to strike is now. So I'd go running back in this kind of setup right here, Moses. Elias, do you think David Njoku is still possible? Yes, but unlikely. I don't think the Browns are going to be actively searching to trade him. You have to blow them out of the water for an offer. Whereas the Broncos were actively looking to trade Jerry Jeudy. So it just took some negotiation, right? Right now you're walking up to a house that's not for sale and you're asking the homeowner, name your price. And that usually means they're going to ask for something, a ridiculous high offer that they know they aren't going to get. So if the Broncos do end up getting him, it's probably because they overpaid. And I like Njoku as a tight end, but right now I would be a little bit reserved to give up a quality 3rd-round draft pick maybe for a 30-year-old tight end who's had some injury history. I would not do that if I were the Broncos. A-Lux, what's the strongest offensive position class in this draft? Running back? Go back to last year. PU. Ashton Genty, Caleb Johnson, Omarion Hampton, and Dylan Sampson, 4 guys that I think are going to be influencers and at the next level when they get drafted, and they're going to have good spots in all the teams that draft them. So running back definitely jumps to the top of the mind. It's bad tackle class. It's not a very good wide receiver class. Interior offensive line, there's not a whole lot of buzz. There's no center or guard that's making a lot of noise so far. Quarterback is down. Honestly, guys, if I'm being honest, it's not that great of a draft class. The way I'm looking at it is the guys who are going to go top 5 in this year's draft class, and there will be 5 players, regardless, taken 1 through 5. Compared to other draft classes, they would probably go like 5 to 10. The 4th overall pick is probably more like an 8th or 9th overall pick in years past. The guy that goes 10 is probably more like a 16th or 17th overall pick. There's probably only 15 guys in this draft class that by most GM's accounts have first-round grades on them. 32 guys will be drafted in round 1. It doesn't mean all 32 are looked at as round 1 talent. It just means they ran out of the round 1 talent. Usually that happens in the early 20s. I think it's going to happen about 5 to 6 or 7 picks earlier this year. Last question from Kenny. Hypothetically, I love it already. How do you think Denver would have performed against the Eagles based on their last game with the Packers? We're talking in the Super Bowl. I don't think the Broncos, hypothetical, I don't think the Broncos, if they met with the Eagles this weekend, would beat Philadelphia. And that's not me trying to, poo-poo on the Broncos. It's just Philadelphia Eagles are a very good football team right now. They run the ball super well. And what was one of the biggest kryptonites for Denver against the Bills? They could not stop James Cook. Couldn't stop James Cook. What's Saquon Barkley going to do to you? I don't want to know. All right, that will do it for us on today's mailbag. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you can be a part of future mailbags. Okie dokie. If we get some more super chats, we can stay live. Otherwise, we do have to sign off and relinquish the studio space to Jimbo. By the way, thank you for the super chat. I think it's the Warriors channel. I don't know. I'm very excited for this construction to be done, and we can really have a nice, hopeful home base for us to do more content. Morgan, what is the dead cap for next season? Good question, Morgan. Let me give you the answer. It's not nearly as high as what it was this year, which was $89 million. That was number 1 in the National Football League. The dead cap hit for 2025 for the Broncos, I'm going to guess is like Russell Wilson. They had like 20. I guess like $25 million. You ready? Oh, snap. Broncos, $32 million, which is third most in the NFL, but much more manageable. The Steelers, $45,000. Wow. I don't know how. $35 million versus $45,000. The most, by the way, belongs to the Saints at $48 million. Least is Steelers at $45,000. Then it's the Chiefs, the Seahawks, and the Falcons. There's a handful of teams under $1 million. Yeah. Okay. That's going to do it for us on our live show today. I hope you guys enjoyed the live show. We started doing them since the new year began, and I think it's a great way to just connect with you guys, not in a weird way, but kind of get more instant feedback and things like that, whereas when I film the video and I post it, I go to the comments, I read what you guys have to say and whatnot, but it's not as instantaneous as a live show with the live chat. So I hope you guys enjoy the shows. Keep coming back if you do. That way we can keep doing them and send it to a friend, all that good stuff. Always like and subscribe. Jimbo, till next time, buddy. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good rest of your Tuesday, and I'll see all of you tomorrow.